Hey, what's up guys? This video is not for the general public. This is for people who are successful or want to be successful. These are for people who are already on that journey, and more importantly, they can work hard. They really can work hard, and if you were to follow them around, they would put in 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and they would mean it and they could prove it. We're not talking to the people here in this video who say they work hard, but then you catch them watching TV for 10 hours every week or something like that. Again, if that's what you want to do, that's great. But the point is, we're talking to people who understand work ethic and actually practice it. Today, I want to share with you 5 things that are kind of contradictory in terms of what conventional advice tells you. And these are sort of higher level things that I've kind of picked up from studying a lot of successful people, millionaires and billionaires. The first thing is be selective with who you decide to learn what from. Now, what does that mean? Well, basically, I was reading this blog post from a very profitable female entrepreneur. As far as what that means, I would say like less than $1 million, but still making more than 99% of people, so above 6 figures. And she has this business, right? And she walks through her daily and monthly and weekly routines and her journey to a set amount of money she made. And the thing was, she was just so burnt out. I think the thing was, she failed to understand just being able to relax or work smarter so that you protect your own health and you don't expose yourself to unnecessary trauma. So that's precisely what she did. She did 18-hour days for a long amount of time, and she put herself in a state where she was so stressed and pulled in so many directions that any little thing that went wrong, any critical element that would have gone wrong would have tremendously affected her, which is exactly what happened. She found out that a relative died, and that really just broke her emotionally. She eventually recovered and so forth, but it's critical to understand that working hard in and of itself is not enough. I definitely think, yeah, of course, work hard, but isn't it funny how almost at every level of income, there's people who really work hard. Maybe they're just the 1% of the population in that income, but there are people of every income level that work really hard. We have people working minimal wage. I've met them who work 70, 80-hour weeks consistently because they have to, or they think that's the only way. And then we have people in this 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure range. So why is it that these people working minimal wage are not, they're not advancing or getting anywhere compared to these people making 100 to 1,000 times more than them? I think that gets us to point number 2, which is that society, yes, working hard is really important to success, and you should, of course, do it. But society has made it seem like that is the only answer, the end-all, be-all, when that's not true. There's multiple elements of success. Work smarter. Maybe rather than just pushing the lever harder up until you hit a threshold where you can't push it any further, you can work smarter or find other ways that have higher potential for income or success, bigger wins. So for instance, maybe you're working 70 hours a week at a fast food restaurant working minimal wage. Rather than that, maybe ratchet it down to 50 hours a week, and then with that extra 20 hours, maybe spend that doing something on the side, like growing a business or starting a business for $100, which a lot of people have done. Look at the book, The $100 Startup. And if it's successful, that could grow into a side income or a full-time income that greatly surpasses what you can do right now, because the business model allows for it to scale and for you to make more money. So work smarter, not just harder. I think that's something that's it's not emphasized enough, and I think many people out there do not work hard. They say they do and they don't, which is why a lot of people tell them to work hard. And yes, it helps, but working hard alone, it's something that hits a level of diminishing returns. You will hit a threshold where you cannot just keep increasing the lever. It hits a point where it stops. You can only work so much in a day before you get diminishing returns and negative effects. Horrible health issues, sleep issues, sleep deprivation. You're pretty much, there's tons of science on this, you're pretty much drunk or at a greater risk of getting into a car crash if you're sleep deprived rather than drunk. And I've experienced this myself, and it is a terrible, very dangerous thing. And I mean, car crashes are one of the most common ways people die. Third thing you should look towards. I've seen tons of different types of people who have been destroyed in terms of health or emotionally because they just overworked. I've seen models like Cara Delevingne. She did a whole speech on this. She actually wasn't that famous, and then something hit and everyone loved her. And the thing was, she overworked herself because she never had any gigs anymore. Now she had more than she could handle. So she said yes to everything, overworked herself, hit a point where literally her entire system was exhausted, and she developed skin conditions. Now, rather than what they should have done, which was to tell her, hey, relax, take a week off, let this heal, which would have been the healthy long-term solution, because they wanted more money from her and they wanted her back on the scene immediately, they shipped her off to a hospital and gave her a short-term fix that didn't really fix anything, which was to inject a bunch of needles into her thighs with chemicals to clear any symptoms. So I've seen female entrepreneurs who have made millions of dollars, who have exhausted their health to a point of thyroid conditions, literally health issues, adrenal fatigue, and all sorts of stuff because they overworked themselves and no one told them that they could take a break. And so they just kept doing it. They just imagined, or society told them, oh, it's just more success. I just want more success. So they kept doing this and they exhausted themselves. So that brings us to number 4, which is what you can do. How come there's people who make billions of dollars as well as millions who do not fall into these places? In fact, if you meet them, they're pretty chill individuals. They're relaxed, they're stress-free, they enjoy their life. Why is this the case? Well, number 4 and 5 will answer this for you. And they're a rare breed. But number 4 is quite simply, if you can find something you enjoy, it's much easier to work harder at it and not feel exhausted or overwhelmed. Additionally to that, there's obviously all sorts of prioritization systems, some of which I've talked about in detail on my blog. There's a link below this video. But there's a ton of things that you can do to prioritize yourself better, to find something that you enjoy so that the work doesn't seem like grunt hard work. Now, does this mean that every moment of your day will be full of fun and enjoyment? I would say maybe for a very rare person with a very unique career. But I think with every job, there's certain elements that are not completely fun. Even for a CEO or executive, most people don't like firing people. It's just something that has to be done when you get the wrong fit for a job or something comes up. There are elements of the job that will still feel a bit like hard work, but if you can move more and more towards a place where you enjoy more of your work, then that's something that can really benefit you a lot. I'll give you a great example, YouTube. So a lot of people, they're very concerned about comments, and they'll say stuff like, oh, I have to respond to every single comment, and it's good for just building social equity and all this stuff and SEO and all that stuff. But uh, then we have channels like a lot of toy collector channels, and they just turn off their comments completely, and they still get millions of views. So I think that's one of those situations where for that channel, it's very clear to me from watching her videos, and I can definitely relate. She just wanted to express her passion to the fullest. And I've seen this across numerous toy channels. They realize all of a sudden that with more people, there comes more hatred, negativity, and they don't want any of that. And so if that means, making less money or getting less views, that's fine. So they'll turn off comments because it just doesn't affect them the right way, opening up the browser every day and seeing that negativity. For other people, they're more than willing to, not let that affect them because personality-wise, it doesn't. But it's something to consider. Finally, the fifth thing that you can do to possibly increase your levels of just productivity and then just feel more stressed, do less work, and have higher impact, while of course still working hard if you want to, is you want to truly figure out, okay, this is the time for hard work, this is the time for non-hard work. Take breaks, enjoy yourself, relax, and find time where you actually have some downtime, enjoying your life. Additionally to just relaxing and enjoying your time sometimes, you can, of course, back to point 4, move, transition them together so that they work in the same way. A great example is the billionaire Sir Richard Branson. He recently wrote in an article that he can't distinguish work from play because he has made his career one where play and work are intermingled. And so there is no work-life balance for him, and he's never stressed out because he's never thinking, when's the next time I can get off work, because I hate working here 9 hours a day. Once I get off work, then I can enjoy myself. And so because he enjoys his work so much and it's play to him, he really intermingles that. Now, that's a very tough thing to do, and it will not just fall in your lap. I definitely think for some people it does. And I think it's a very, not just me, but science has shown that it's very corrosive to your happiness to compare yourself to others or contrast yourself or dwell on other people who may have lucked out, which is why I recommend, spending a little less time on Facebook feeds and stuff like that, so you do not compare yourself to other individuals. Yes, some people will luck out earlier in life and they just stumble across a work they enjoy. But here's a critical thing you should understand. Patience. There's many more successful people. And I could give you examples in the acting field, the business field, everywhere, where their success came later in life and they persevered and were patient. Warren Buffett, 99% of his wealth was made after he turned over 50 years of age. Let's look at some of the top actors. Morgan Freeman. We have Harrison Ford, George Clooney. Look at their biographies. These people, they didn't get their first big major break until maybe over a decade of hustling and taking the initiative and forming connections into their mid to late 30s and sometimes 40s or 50s. And those aren't the only examples. So patience, of course. And then the final thing to conclude this video is say no. Be willing to say no. I think that's something that Cara Delevingne learned. There's a speech she did for women's empowerment where she said, that's what I learned. And there's also one by Lady Gaga where she learned similar stuff, where despite her fame and money, she felt unhappy for some reason. She was doing stuff that she didn't really enjoy, whether it was just shaking hands with people or other elements of her life. So again, it's about saying no to stuff, because for a lot of people, when they experience that success, especially millionaires and so forth, it's still an early stage of success, and they have yet to learn to say no to things because it seems like the right thing to do to just say yes to another gig, another opportunity, because it will bring more fame or money or whatever else, success. And I say that in quotes because oftentimes what I found is that a lot of these people are not necessarily happy or fulfilled, even despite the money, the fame, the reputation. In fact, there's that other extreme where you get so famous that you can't go anywhere publicly, and it's clearly a drain on your happiness and well-being. So keep all those things in mind. And just to conclude really quickly, I just want to touch on the major points again that I think you should really look into. Patience. Success doesn't happen overnight. And the next thing, say no to things. Be willing and able to say no to things that, if you're iffy about them, go ahead and say no. Make time for yourself. Value yourself. Number 3 would be value yourself and value your time and your worth, because other people are not willing to. And the 4th thing would just be to find something that you're really interested in, passionate about, and of course, patiently work every day to move it to a place where work and fun are intermingled, and you don't have those things that you don't want to do, that don't have low impact anyways, that you don't have to do. Be willing and able to delegate. I think that's something that billionaires like Sarah Blakely and Richard Branson very clearly learned at an early age and emphasize, because they know they can't do it all. They appreciate and value a team to be able to do things that they can't do well better. And I think that's the last big point I want to leave you with. There's a lot of people, whether it's there's even millionaire YouTubers who, for whatever reason, they have decided to do everything on their own still, and they're unwilling to get any help. I think that's one of those things where, yes, you don't want to give up the creative process, but how much of it is also the fact that maybe you just, for whatever reason, have some hidden script inside you psychologically that wants you to do everything yourself. Maybe you're scared of other people or scared of becoming a manager. You're scared of that title. Don't be scared of that. It's okay if you make mistakes. And sometimes if you bring on a video editor or someone else, it can really benefit your levels of success. And that goes beyond just YouTube or social media. A lot of small business owners I've seen had the same problem. They go from a one-man shop trying to do everything to something where they have to delegate to succeed, but they're pulled in all sorts of directions. There's this great book by Keith Ferrazzi. He wrote a very well-known book before that called Never Eat Alone. It's one of the most best-selling, most well-known networking books. However, if you look into it, there's something called, there's another book that came after called Who's Got Your Back? And when you start reading that, you realize this guy who seemed to be almost so good at networking and social skills, you read his next book and you realize he's still a complete mess. He could still, in certain ways only get coffee dates that are one-off. He still was looking to form strong relationships and connections and friendships with successful people that he could depend on and call anytime. He still struggled with that, and on top of that, he was in that mindset, that situation where he was doing all sorts of stuff in his business, and because although he had employees, it was a situation where